Imagine you get this really brief work email. Your manager is just asking for a minor tweak to a project. And for most people, that's a standard, totally boring Tuesday request. But for you, your heart completely drops, your face flushes, and suddenly you feel like an absolute failure.
Yeah, because it is an intensely physical reaction.
Yeah.
You aren't just like reading an email.
Yeah.
Your nervous system is basically treating it like a life or death crisis.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out exactly why that happens. We're looking at a really insightful piece from In Focus First by Cheryl Bridges to understand why the ADHD brain processes criticism as this devastating immediate threat. And more importantly, how you can reclaim your confidence. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Well, the core of what you're describing is rejection sensitive dysphoria, or RSD.
RSD, right?
Exactly. For individuals with ADHD, living with this condition means perceives rejection, or even just light criticism, actually translates into physical pain.
Wow, literally physical pain.
Yeah, it's intense. And the symptoms manifest in ways that completely hijack your behavior. You might get this sudden, overwhelming wave of sadness or anger the very moment someone corrects you, or you find yourself overthinking a totally casual conversation for days.
Oh, and the article notes this also drives intense people-pleasing, right? And pure perfectionism, just to avoid that agonizing possibility of failure. I always kind of thought dealing with criticism was just a resilience issue, like a mental muscle you just have to build through exposure.
Right, that's what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
But reading this, it's clear we're dealing with something entirely biological. What's fascinating here is that it is purely biological.
Right, purely biological, like not a character flaw at all.
Not at all. The emotional centers of the ADHD brain are just naturally hyperactive. So when you sense disapproval, your nervous system throws you straight into a fight or flight response.
Okay, so it's sort of like a faulty smoke detector. A neurotypical brain senses burnt toast, realizes there's no actual fire, and just turns the alarm off.
Yeah, they just wave a towel and move on.
Right. But the ADHD brain senses the burnt toast and the off switch is broken. So the sprinklers go off and the fire department kicks the door down all over a typo.
That is exactly it. And that broken off switch is governed by dopamine, which is the brain's main reward and regulation chemical.
Okay.
Because ADHD brains are naturally starved of dopamine, the prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain that usually steps in to say, hey, it's just a typo, it simply doesn't have the fuel to override that emotional panic.
Oh, wow. So my prefrontal cortex is basically running on fumes, making it biologically impossible to just brush off the sting of criticism because the logical brakes literally can't engage.
Exactly. You are stuck in the threat.
Yeah.
And since you can't just wire your nervous system differently by wishing it away, you have to find external ways to pull the battery out of that blaring smoke detector.
Which brings us to the strategies. The source suggests some immediate tactical steps to do that, like taking a strategic pause.
Yes, the pause is huge.
Just taking deep breaths before firing back a defensive response. And another method I found really compelling is physically writing the criticism down. It forces you to separate the objective ink on the page from that heavy emotional tone your brain instinctively assigns to it.
Right. It creates necessary cognitive distance. And for long-term management, therapies like CBT are highly effective because they specifically target that cognitive distortion.
Because it stops the spiraling.
Exactly. Instead of spiraling into, I made a mistake, therefore I am terrible at my job, CBT trains your logical brain to evaluate the threat before the nervous system completely takes over. So you reframe the feedback as, this is one piece of helpful guidance on a single project.
That makes so much sense. And when behavioral tricks and therapy need a little boost, medication steps in to actually address that dopamine starvation we talked about earlier.
Right. By regulating those dopamine levels, medication gives your prefrontal cortex the fuel it needs. It provides the literal mental space to process emotions calmly, rather than just reacting instinctively to a perceived attack.
So what does this all mean?
Well, whether you have ADHD yourself or you work alongside someone who does, recognizing that this emotional sensitivity is a neurological response. It changes everything about how you deliver and receive feedback. It's a biological reality, not a character weakness.
Yeah, that completely flips the script. And looking at some of the related articles from our source material, it leaves me with a pretty wild thought.
Oh yeah? What's that?
Well, they note that ADHD brains are actually calmed by caffeine, and they work significantly better under the intense pressure of a looming deadline.
Oh, totally counterintuitive.
Right. If the ADHD brain reacts to criticism and coffee and extreme pressure in the exact opposite way a neurotypical brain does, how much of our society's standard productivity and communication advice is just completely useless for neurodivergent minds. Next time you get that terrifying email asking for a minor tweak, remember? You aren't broken, you're just operating a complex machine with a completely different instruction manual.